If you're using a payroll service provider, you may be in a PEO scenario and not even be aware. My name is Christina Hageney, president of Valor Payroll Solutions, and we help small business owners with their payroll. What is a PEO, you ask? Well, a PEO is a professional employer organization. And when you enter into an agreement with a PEO, you have a co employment situation where your employees are now employees of the PEO and also, of course, still your employees as well. When it comes to payroll, this affects nearly everything in the payroll process. A lot of times, the taxes will be reported under the PEO's EIN. This is always the case for federal tax purposes. Some states have different rules depending on the state and tax type, but a lot of the data and wage information will be reported under the PEO's EIN. This also includes the W 2s at year end, which will not show your business name but will show the PEOs with their EIN. Now, sometimes when you're switching payroll service providers, if you're working with a provider that has a PEO option, you may be sold on this option without even knowing it and not understanding what this means or how it might affect your current year's payroll. And that's exactly what happened with a client that we are currently helping. They were using QuickBooks as their payroll software and then decided to seek outside help. Now they went to ADP and ended up on ADP's PEO option, but had no idea what a PEO was, that they were enrolled in it, or why that even mattered. Ultimately, they canceled QuickBooks, and QuickBooks never filed anything for the wages that were paid in the QuickBooks system. Now, this was for 2 full quarters of the year. With a PEO, because the payrolls reported under the PEO's EIN, if you're switching mid year, your employees will get two W 2s, and you do have to file all payroll tax returns for the wages processed under your EIN. It's almost as if your employees were paid by two completely separate businesses. And so employees will receive two W 2s for that year if you switch mid year. But again, the client had no idea that they had enrolled in a PEO. And during their onboarding, they were also asked for their prior payroll information. So they assumed that ADP would include these wages in the year to date totals and issue W 2s for those wages at year end. They ended up getting their W 2s from the PEO and noticed that it did not include the wages processed under the QuickBooks account. So they reached out to me asking for W 2Cs to amend the W 2s to include the wages from QuickBooks. As we were going through their data, I asked to see the W 2s and noticed that it said ADP Total Source and had a different EIN than the businesses. So I took a couple minutes to explain what the PEO was and why the W 2 was issued under ADP's information. And in this case, they actually don't need W 2Cs. They need original W 2s for the wages processed in QuickBooks under their business's EIN. They'll also need to go back and file any missing payroll tax returns for those 2 quarters where they were doing payroll under their EIN. So it's really important to understand if you are shopping around for payroll services that this is an option that is out there. Now, usually with the PEO, the fees are higher, but they include additional services like HR services. So just make sure if you are in the market for a new payroll service, that if you are working with someone that has a PEO option, or if you're simply not sure, that you ask. And make sure one way to confirm is whose EIN will the W 2s be processed under? And if they say theirs or not yours, then that would be a good time to ask, oh, is this a PEO option? Now, the payroll is never one size fits all. And I'm not here to say PEOs are good, bad, or otherwise, because I think that they work really well for certain types of businesses. But at the end of the day, if you are put in a PEO situation and don't understand what a PEO is, then it will leave you with a big pile of things to figure out come tax time or W 2 time if you weren't aware that they were not going to capture your year to date payroll processed in another system. So, again, we're always here to help. If this is something that you may be struggling with or have questions about, feel free to drop them below. You can always find us online at valorpayrollsolutions.com.